It's long overdue that we have Marcus DaMatta, a.k.a. Parrumpa, on the show. He's kind enough to join us from Florida right here and now. Hello, my friend. How are you?
How you doing, Ariel? Thanks for having me. A pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure myself. It's a pleasure for you to be here. It's a pleasure to have you here. It's a pleasure to see all the great success that you are having with the team and with all the great fighters by your side. Was this always the dream for you, by the way? Because like I said, you had a great career in MMA. You were grappler, BJJ, all that stuff and more. But now turning into the head coach that you have turned into, was this always part of the dream for you?
Yes, actually, I started fighting MMA to get better as a coach. I needed to have a better understanding what MMA really was inside the cage. And the cutting weight process, the whole adrenaline, fear as a grappler to get punched in the face and get knocked out. I need to experience that to see if the techniques that I was about to show these guys, will actually work. So that was the whole point was to get better as a coach at American Top Team. My goal was initially just do 5 fights, but it's kind of like a addicting sport, and then ended up doing 15 fights, way past my prime, I had to say.
But it was always with just trying to be a better coach in the back of your mind. Like you didn't really care about trying to be champion or anything like that. It was always with that goal, which you don't really hear other fighters turn coaches say. You always knew what the end goal was going to be.
Yes, I mean, I started at 33 years old, so pretty old, to become the number one in the world. I always had a dream to compete in UFC, obviously, but that didn't happen, and I knew that I was never going to be the number one in the world for any weight division. I tried my best to be the best that I could, still coaching at the same time. I never had the opportunity to be just a fighter, and Dan Lambert was kind enough to let me do both, while coaching American Top Team fighters. I was, getting camps together, and in the middle of the trips I was fighting, but the ultimate goal was to be a better coach, of course.
Your last fight, I think you were around like 46 in your last fight, right? Which is
Yeah.
incredible. Much respect to you. What was that like to prepare for a fight and fight at that age?
Oh man, it was hard because I was weight cutting, and I kind of like dozed out a little bit. I knew that it has to be that last camp. I didn't have another camp on me. It was getting pretty bad. Not to fight, but like to train, to dedicate myself, to be, dedicating myself every day at the gym and dieting. And that was really hard, alongside with all the commitment that I had as a coach. I knew that was like, man, this is it. It's pretty overdue that I have to like just, settle down and focus on the most important thing in my life, which is coaching guys.
We just showed those pictures from, I believe, your last fight. Amanda Nunes on the right, giving you a kiss. On the left, you're with a little boy. Is that your son?
Yeah, yeah. Pedro is my oldest son.
So now he's obviously a lot older. Is he into martial arts? Does he want to be a fighter?
I mean, he wants. I don't want him to be a fighter, but he wants. He trains a little bit of striking and jujitsu with me. He's now 15 years old. Back then, I think he was 8 or something.
So 15, not quite at the point at the age where you have to decide, but is he trying to push you to be okay with him pursuing this dream?
Yeah, he's trying.
Okay, okay. He's at the gym. He's at American Top Team.
Yes, 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 yes,
Oh, so he's surrounded by all these legends. It's hard not to rub off on him, right?
yes, yes. He loves Pantoja. Obviously,
Yes.
he gets really nervous in all Pantoja's fights, especially the last one. He was really nervous because he saw the all the embedded and all the highlights on Kai Kara France knocking people out, and then he was extremely nervous for that. And when Pantoja finally won, he called me, and I was still at the T-Mobile Arena, really really happy. So
And there you guys are after that last victory. Can I ask, when did you and Alex first meet?
well, it was kind of like a coincidence because I was in UFC Boston with T-Bow, and he was fighting Dustin Ortiz. They both lost um, on that card. And then he ended up contacting one of my good friends and saying that he wanted to train with me and try to get my phone number, and obviously I said, well, there's only one way that we're going to be training together. If you have to come to American Top Team, and he's like, man, it's a dream come true. Please take me in. So obviously I immediately contact Dan Lambert and I said, listen, this guy, I think we can make him, turn around. He just lost, but he's a warrior. He has full potential. And then was all over. I said, yeah, bring him in. And I believe like 2.5 months later or 3 months later, he took a short notice fight against Brandon Moreno in Chile, and it was a 30-26 fight. And then it's all history.
Yeah, and what a run since then. But honestly, did you expect this type of dominance as champion? Did you see this in him from the start?
Um, he has the potential. I didn't expect a few bumps on the road. I didn't expect him losing to Askarov, but it was such a shitty situation in Abu Dhabi. He fought at 2 in the morning. We had to wake up so early. He didn't wait. I mean, there's a bunch of things that we can say about that card. That it didn't sit well. But once he got to be one of the contenders, I knew that he was better than all these guys. I knew he was better than Moreno. I knew he is better than Royval. Obviously we have always tried to get better and make him the best that we can, because every single time he steps on the cage, he's fighting against someone who's willing to die. He's in the best shape of his life. Has nothing to lose, like Kaikara, like Ursag, number 10 in the rankings. Like Moreno for the third time. I mean, actually Moreno, he had a lot to lose because he was the champ back then. But
Yeah.
Royval, you know, um, but I saw the potential in him. I saw that he had some things that made him unique. The train regimen, the way he approaches, his mind. It's such a champion's mind. So I didn't expect to be this good, but I expect to be good.
You mentioned your son was nervous going into the Kai Car France fight, and Kai had been looking good, but man, what a performance! Holy smokes, just so dominant. Never gave him a chance to even believe for a second that he had a chance, that Kai had a chance in the fight. Were you nervous as well going into that one? Can you tell us in the aftermath? Were you worried about it?
Ariel, let me tell you something. I'm always nervous.
Yeah,
It could be an easy match. I'm always nervous. I'm always, very very apprehensive. I'm like, I'm trying to cover all the angles, but we can never cover everything. But I try to be as much as I can, to make sure that he's prepared. But to be honest with you, I didn't think it was going to be that easy. I expect a better Kai, and when we had like, I think 20-25 seconds into the fight, he was already on the back with the body triangle locked in. I said, man, this is going good. We didn't expect that much, and he beat Kai not only on the grappling scene, which was expected, even though he could say, oh, I have the best takedown defense of the division. I'm stronger. He's going to make a mistake. This is all promotion because, I knew, Pantoja would be able to take him down and hold him down, because the first fight was such a close fight because Pantoja had like, I believe, 8 or 9 days to prepare after fight Moreno, and Kai had an easy fight in the Ultimate Fighter show, right? So, but not only that, on the striking portion of the fight, he was way better than Kai in all aspects. He didn't get punched once in the face, I don't think. So it was a great performance. It was um, uh, a great stamp on who he is and how underappreciated as a champion he was. And I think people start now realizing that there's only maybe three guys better than him as a champion. It's Ilia, it's Islam, and Marab, and we don't even know if those guys have the same accomplishment than the Pantoja. But the 125-pound division is so underappreciated. It's getting better now, but
yeah. And he is getting more respect. I feel like people really started to pay attention to him in 2021 when he had that win over Brandon Royval. He posted a video very recently about how sort of nerve-wracking that time was for him, and I'd love to ask you about it. He mentioned that he tore his ACL before the fight. He was, I think, working as an Uber driver, he didn't have any money. He said he walked away with 100,000. He just wanted to make it to the scale to get the show money, and then he gets the performance bonus as well. But he had $100 to his name, and then he walked away with 100,000. Were you aware with, like the stuff that he was dealing with, and how kind of, I would say maybe like tense that time was for him and his family?
I was not aware about the money situation. I was aware, obviously, fight week, he was sick, very sick, and it was a very hard weight cut because those last 2 pounds was kind of like, very hard to take off because of his sickness, and we were kind of like worried because what if it's COVID? What if we test positive and he cannot make to the cage? He was more worried than us, but he was worried because he didn't have any money. I was worried because I knew that he can beat Royval and be the number one contender, So when he finally said, man, and he told me the whole story about Uber, because had he told me before, I was gonna try to help him out, give him some money. Man, listen, here's like, I don't know, as much as I could. I would even ask Dan, hey Dan, this guy, is gonna be our new champion. I mean, can we help him out? I'll make sure that he pays you back after the fights and everything, and then we'll have no problem doing that. But he didn't tell anyone. He said,
Wow.
man, I am a father. I am a husband. I need to take care of my family the way I can. I'm not going to ask for anybody for money. I knew that if I told you, you would try to help me out, but I had to do something as a man. So I did Uber, and it was very rainy that week. So he had to go in and out of the car, AC, whatever. He got sick. Then comes fight week, already with the knee problem, which was happening. He was training at the gym, sparring, and then his knee will fall out of place. He'd have to maybe pull guard, put his knee back in place, and then come back up, and he didn't tell me anything because I said, well, why you pull guard? No, I thought I could sweep him because,
Wow.
yeah. And finally, after the fight, he finished, Royval was a great performance. We got the bonus. He was so relieved, you know, and then we had to do surgery, and then the title shot came. We had to say no. They gave to Figueiredo, and then he had to come back 1 year later. But there was the best thing that could ever happen to Pantoja at that time. We lost a year, but we didn't actually lose a year because he came back so stronger. He came back, his body changed on that year because of that surgery. He had to lift a lot of weights. He had to put a lot of muscle on it. And when he came back and he fought Alex Perez, it was so obvious that he would be the next champion because he was so healthy, no problems at all. So it was a blessing, that
Unbelievable. What a
something
story. Thank you for
that
sharing that, and gives us even greater appreciation for the kind of person that he is. And so next up is Joshua Van, very clearly. How do you feel about this matchup? Josh saying he's never fought someone like me. He gets in the cage afterwards. He had a great win as well. From a coach perspective, how do you feel about this?
I think Joshua Van is it's a full package. I think he's good everywhere. He's not great at anything, but he's good everywhere. And he's young, 23 years old. Has a good a body as he can recover very well. He was very heavy. On the day off, we were actually together and we overheard his coaches saying that he was like at 147, 148, something like that. So he recovers very well. Obviously, he's young, you know. I think he's gonna be the best Joshua Van, you know. But if you analyze the Royval fight, he won the first round. Royval won the second. He was winning until the knockdown at the end of the third. So we see a few things that we can work on. Obviously, and his team's going to do the same thing to study Pantoja, and I think it's going to be a great fight. I think Joshua sees the opportunity. I think he made great. He had fought, I believe, 2.5, 3 weeks before that, and he came, she showed up, made weight, and had a great fight against Royval, which was clearly the number one contender, and I think it's going to be great.
Do you agree with the statement that Pantoja has never fought anyone like him before? He's fought a who's who at 125 now. It seemed like he was having to fight people again just to, stay active. Do you agree with that?
I mean, I'm not sure what he meant by that. I mean, yeah, we never fought Joshua Van.
Sure.
We fought Kai twice. We fought, Moreno 3 times. We fought Cape, whatever. But in what sense? Young age? Yeah, he's right. I think Pantoja never fought somebody with that gap of a difference from him. And then he fought young guys when he was young, you know. I'm not sure what he had to say, what he meant by that, and I agree. I mean, everybody's different. Everybody has different challenges. The fight before was the power of Kaikara. Before that was the dangers of Asakura. The guy has flying knees, all types of knockout coming from rising weight division above Pantoja, really, hyped up. Saka Kibata was first row with Dana, whatever. Before that was Ursag, who had come from a great knockout, a number 10 in the world. Nobody knew how good he was. He could be great, but he could fade. Where's Ursag now after Pantoja? So people have to, understand that Pantoja fought everybody, So in what sense Joshua Van said that? Everybody had to say something,
Mm-hmm. We've seen Pantoja likes to fight in the summer and then maybe that December card. Can we expect him back before the end of the year? Is that the hope?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. That's what we want.
That December pay-per-view.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, we had another idea, but I guess UFC had other plans. But December should be fine.
What was the other idea?
October 4th.
Okay. Yeah, and they just announced it. So he wanted to come back that quickly.
Yeah, he didn't get punched. He was in shape. He was motivated. I think I haven't seen Pantoja getting back to the gym as quick as he did right now.
Wow.
Because I guess I think that challenge of fighting a new guy, a young guy, really motivates him. When he fought Asakura, he was extremely motivated because it was a new name.
Yeah.
It's hard to fight. He keeps fighting people that he already fought. So it's kind of hard to bring, motivation and challenges, So when he fought Asakura, he was extremely motivated. And I see the same thing right now with Joshua Van.
How do you think he wins?
I hate to give predictions, Ariel.
Okay.
All I know is he's gonna be with his hands raised.
That's fair.
Against Joshua.
I would love to ask you about another one of your great fighters, Renato Moicano. And so last year he had an unbelievable year, and this year, this is the game, right? Up and down. Of course, what happened in January, 24 hours notice against the champion is tough. But then the recent fight against Beneil Dariush, what was your take on how that fight played out and why it didn't go his way? It looked maybe very early that it was going to go his way. Beneil's a veteran of the game. What was your assessment of that fight?
Well, I didn't expect that Moicano was going to get that tired. His body shut down. We did a good camp. I believe that he did a better camp for June than he did for January for Dariush. Obviously, in January, everything changed. It's kind of the same. It's a southpaw. Yeah, but Islam brings a whole different level of problems that Dariush doesn't. So it was hard to adjust everything in 24 hours. We did what we could. He knew, and he knows that he made a mistake, too early. Champion's a champion for a reason, and he got punished for it. On the Dariush fight, like you said, everything was going great. He made a mistake on the first round, in my opinion. Instead of going to the back, should have kept punching, and almost maybe get a stoppage or maybe get a 10-8 round, make sure you cut him very well, like he did against BST. Didn't happen, try to go to the back, ended up, finish the round like that. Second round, Dariush came extremely, heavy grappling strategy, got him really tired. And the third round, it was a coin toss, it was whoever did more. Dariush did more. Moicano shut down his body, and he knows that we need to work on, for the next fight. I didn't like it. He didn't like it either, obviously, and I'm going to push him even harder this time.
I know this is sort of out of the gym stuff, But he's in the news this week when talking about this settlement money. I don't know if you've seen this, and you were once a fighter. You know about the fight game. You know how these fighters scratch and claw. And I could say it. I know you may not want to say it. I don't think they get paid enough. And so for Money Moicano to say, I didn't take the money is a little surprising. What did you make of this?
It's I understand his point of view. He said first thing that he asked me, Coach, what is a contract? A contract is a word. It's your word in writing. So I gave my word that I was going to fight. I'm going to compete for X amount of fights, receiving X amount of money. Now years later, I'm going to say, oh, that was not fair. At the time, it was fair. At the time, I was happy. At the time, I was really excited to do it. So why now take the money? Oh, but the money's not going back to the UFC. UFC is going to pay that amount anyways, right? It doesn't matter. It's about me. It's about my principle. Maybe right now that I'm talking to you, maybe I should have done something for charity. Take the money, but do some kind of charity or divide among people that he thinks that deserves and whatever. So it's his point of view. I mean, it doesn't matter if I agree or not. It's the way that he is. And we'll see if the new lawsuit is going to do something different. Because
Yes.
I think the other one coming in.
Yes, yes, yes. And what about in January where you had Renato Moicano replacing another fighter that you trained, Arman Tsarukyan? What was that like for you? Because I guess you would have had to know that something was up, right? Because you're with Arman as well. Was that very difficult for you? Was that awkward?
Very awkward because I couldn't say anything to Moicano. I knew Arma was not very well, the day before. We're trying to push, but he couldn't get off bad to cut weight, and when Dana says something, people don't even try to find out if it's true or not. They just repeat. There's nothing, absolutely nothing related to weight cut. As a matter of fact, Armand was a little lighter than I wanted, and he was ready to make weight easily. It was way harder this time as a replacement because he was competing in Russia a week before. I had to fly back to the States, meet us in Vegas, and then weight cut. So this time was really hard. But back then he was fine. He was on weight. His back spasmed,
Yeah, yeah.
and he couldn't leave back to weight cut. So there's nothing, absolutely nothing related to not making weight.
Hmm.
You know,
And was it strange that your guy replaced him?
Yeah, so I knew late that Arma most likely was not going to make, but I couldn't say anything to Moicano yet, and I was like, listen, we'll have to be on point. Just something happens, and then Hunter called me kind of late, and he asked me, hey, can Moicano make 55? I say, absolutely, he's going to make 50 if you let him, if you want him to, it's like, yeah, he's my guy, he's my replacement, I don't think your other boy is gonna make it. And then, I said, okay, so here's the thing. I'm gonna wait until the morning, because if I tell this news right now to Moicano, I think it was like 1 a.m, he's not gonna sleep. He's gonna be so excited, he's not gonna sleep. So I'm not gonna tell anything, but I promise you Moicano's gonna make 55. He said, do whatever you want, make sure he makes 55 and be ready tomorrow. If it's done, So I think we woke up at 5:30, at 6 o'clock. I got into his room. I said, listen, you're going to make 55. And he's like, why? Don't tell me. I said, yeah, our money's out. What? He was screaming. He was so happy. Made 55 so easy. Said, man, I'm going to be a world champion. He was so excited. That's the fight game. He made a mistake, got punished. Life goes on.
It seemed for a minute that Arman was almost being punished in a way for what happened. He does get the backup fighter spot for this last fight, but now it's unclear if he is going to be next. If we're going by meritocracy standpoint, he should be next. We were talking about this earlier. Do you think he will fight for the belt next? What are you feeling right now?
It's kind of hard to say, Ariel, because even though he's the number one contender, he beat everybody. Who are you gonna put to fight for the title? Paddy Pimblett, that's a money fight. Okay, respect that. But then Gagey over Arman, I'm not sure. And I don't think when it was Islam, he might say, "Oh, I already fought Arman, let me fight Gagey." He kind of like said that. Ali kind of said that. But now there's not even that angle anymore. Listen, Ilia never fought Arma, and I think I'm not sure if that's the UFC wants before Ilia fights Islam, because in my opinion, in my heart, I think Arman can make it very hard for Ilia. I think he can beat Ilia. I think he will beat Ilia. Oh, you train Arman, of course, yeah. But I believe in Arma. I think he has the ability, the tools, to beat a guy like Ilia. Oh, he's a very heavy-handed guy, unbelievable guy. Ilia is a great champion. All the abilities that Ilia has, he's amazing. He was hired by the UFC because of his grappling, and then all of a sudden he started knocking people out. So no, we respect Ilia's grappling, but I think Arman's a different level. I think Arman has the ability. He's better than Charles. He's better than all these guys that Ilia fought. So let's say they put Arman now with Ilia, then the big super fight, Ilia Islam, is off, and he beats Ilia, and that super fight off. So I'm not sure. Maybe they're gonna put Pimblett to fight Ilia or somebody else to fight Ilia to get a good win. Wait until Islam fights Jack, see what happens. Hopefully they both win. There's your big super fight of the year next year. And in the meantime, Arma needs to fight maybe one more time, to cement himself as the number one contender. That's what we got to do. Whatever, we'll do.
Clearly, you have a relationship with Amanda Nunes. What is it going to be like when an ATT fighter, I think the captain of ATT, Kayla Harrison, fights former ATT fighter Amanda Nunes? What is that going to feel like for you?
Man, I don't have any relationship with Amanda anymore. I mean, she left ATT. She didn't leave ATT, saying good things about us. I mean, whatever. Kayla is an amazing person. Is amazing team member. She defends American Top Team to the core. It's all about Kayla.
Fair enough, and I respect that. Can I ask you one more about Dustin Poirier? I know he's not one of your guys per se, but another guy who defends ATT and is so proud to be a part of the team. He just had this incredible moment. Who is Dustin Poirier in the gym? I was talking to him on Monday about. He said, of course, I'm going to go back and help guys like Johnny Eblin and others. I will always be there for anyone who needs my help or advice, even though I don't live in Florida. As far as what you see in terms of his interactions with the fighters, the younger fighters, the guys trying to come up, the guys who are trying to realize their dreams like he did, what is your impression of Dustin Poirier as far as a teammate in the gym?
Man, Dustin is an amazing guy. Forget about Johnny Eblin. Have you heard about Saba Omasi?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he used to fight at Bellator. He's a great guy too. Dustin flies out, pay his whole thing, flies out to just help Sabah and corner him. It's not even about helping a champion. He helps his teammates. Whoever helps him, he helps. He's an amazing guy. I think he had a brilliant career. I think he represented an American Top Team the best possible way. A great guy, great fighter, always brought wars and amazing fights, that we will always remember. I will never forget the BSD fight when a few people, including, a lot of people in the gym didn't believe that he was going to make it because BSD was that hyped, and he, knocked him out. So that's one of the fights that I will remember. Obviously the Conor fights that always amazing to remember, the ones that he won in Abu Dhabi, and the other one, I believe it was in Vegas, if I'm not mistaken, or New York. All good things, only good things about Dustin Poirier. He's amazing. I hope he has a better retirement, the best things for him and his family.
You're amazing. And I'm sorry that it took me so long to have you on the program. Phenomenal stuff, Parrumpa. By the way, you went from Parrumpinha to Parrumpa. When did you graduate? Because Parrumpinha is smaller, right? Now you're just Parrumpa. When did you have that graduation?
Well, American people doesn't know how to say Parrumpinha the way you do.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
that's the right way to say. But people were like getting too confused, and then I guess like Dan started calling me Parrumpa, Parrumpa, and then everybody started calling me Parrumpa. So that's what it was.
Well, you're doing great things. Congratulations to you and the whole team and all the success. It's amazing to watch. Tremendous stuff on the show today. Thank you so much, Marcos. Really appreciate it. And we'll have you on again soon.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here.
Yes, my pleasure. Obrigado. There he is, Parrumpa, formerly known as Parrumpinha, back in his competition days, doing amazing stuff with the likes of Renato Moicano, Alex Pantoja, Arman Tsarukyan, and many others as well. Great to get his insight. Love the conversations with the coaches. Thanks for watching this video. Before you go, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us. Also, give us a thumbs up, leave a nice comment. These things go a long way. And while you're here, do check out the rest of the channel. We've got live shows and full interviews, clips, and a whole lot more. We're doing big things here, and we appreciate your support very much.